Salvete omnes, mihi nomen est, Stella, et hoc est Batgirl the Oracle of the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 250 for September MMXXIV. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics ready to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out milehighcomics.com. Well, welcome. Here we are, episode 250. Really little to no fanfare, but here we are, maybe 300. That'll be something. Can't believe that I've reached this number of podcast episodes. Plus, if you think about all the other episodes for other shows that I've done, I'm sure I don't know, probably in the 300s or 400s. But yes, welcome. I will say just two little tidbits. So I did go to New York City. I'm actually wearing the shirt that I got from the show, Do It for Johnny, The Outsiders. And I saw it with the good or bad Professor Carolyn Coca, depending on how you perceive her. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Went to the Chelsea Market, which I had never been. Went to the High Line, which was just like a lovely green space to walk along, and chatted and had fun. And then the show itself was really good. I mean, obviously, there were some discrepancies from the source material, and some of which I disagree with. Like, I would have liked to have seen dot, 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 dot. But overall, I thought it was great. I thought the choreography was great. I enjoyed the music, which it could have gone country, but which I don't like country music, but I thought that it was like soft country, so I allowed it. And the set design and how they use pieces of the set as props and things, I very much enjoyed. I will one little, I guess, anecdote from my time with the good professor. We were sort of thinking about. I like to ask, historical questions about my relationship with other people, and just like, oh, did you ever think, we would get here from the first time that you cold emailed me, that sort of thing. And I think we were also talking about Comic-Con because two things were relating. And she asked when the last time I went to San Diego Comic-Con was, and I said 2016, and she said no, which I thought was pretty offensive because, we're told that and I was telling my truth. So we're told, we have our truths. And sometimes I guess people deny your truth. And she denied it and said that it was actually 2017. So I guess it was that my truth was maybe out of alignment with my reality, or the reality. But I will say that in the moment, I did really think that it was 2016, but she was not letting me have it. So I guess have someone in your life, just like the Professor Coca, who will tell you no when you are speaking your truth. And then yesterday, because I'm really late in recording because I've like lost all my weekends, I went to Baltimore Comic Con. The primary purpose, I think, was to really hang out with my good friend Tom Panarese, and he brought his son. And also, I mean, why not? Now that I have a local con that's kind of bigger, I did have one, I guess Charlottesville, like Roanoke. I could have gone down there, but for once, it's in there. I'm proud of myself because I used the light line or the light rail. And so I'm excited that I can just go to a parking lot, take this light rail in 20 minutes. I'm in downtown Baltimore and I don't have to worry about parking and driving down there. And yeah, I like Baltimore Comic Con because it's a nice mix of merchandise and comic creators and things. And it's not super overwhelming. And you can look around and chat with people. And I think generally everyone seems lovely there. Saw Babs Tarr and got a couple merchandise items from her. Saw Scott Larson that I know from my past with Spider-Man Crawl Space. Happened upon the Sutherlands, which funnily enough, I saw Ron Randall's booth and I thought, oh, they're probably there. And sure enough, they were. And I had jokingly expressed the fact that was my intuition there, that, wherever Ron Randall is, his two cronies are. And they loved that particular epithet that I had used, cronies, and that word had just been on my mind from teaching because there was there were a couple Catullus poems that we had translated, and he uses Sodalus, which is like buddy or comrade or crony. And I was talking to the students about how like crony is a great word, but typically there's like a negative connotation because you think that they're gonna like beat somebody up. But I thought in the moment of calling the Sutherlands, who are just lovely people, cronies is pretty funny. But I think that they have now latched onto that. And then yeah, Paul Wildenberger I saw. I didn't know he was going to be here. He didn't know I was going to be there. And then I had already gotten home basically, and I got a message from somebody that said, "Are you in Baltimore? I think I saw you." So now there's like another connection. Hopefully, my social sphere can like, kind of like get bigger now, knowing that there are some people that are local to Baltimore. And I did not get a lot of stuff. Luckily, I did go to Terry Moore pretty soon. The one of the first stops I went and got his Parker Girls, and then he saw the pins on my bags and gave me a Catchy pin. And I got a lovely poster of Kiki's Delivery Service that was by an artist who typically does like landscape posters of different settings of films. And yeah, it's just lovely. I think I know where I'm going to post it. I actually just got a frame from Michael's because it was on sale, and some pins, and I'm trying to think. Oh, and then I found two pops. I had a list of pops that I wanted, and there's really only one sizable store with pop figures, and they were all like 20 and above, which is really expensive for me. I'm like, can I get a $5 pop? But I skimmed and didn't really see anything. And then afterwards, I went back and looked at them more closely, and I ended up I found a Speed Racer pop figure, which that show and that character means a lot to me because of my childhood. And so I was like, I'm going to get, and he was only 15. So I thought, I'm going to get it. And then I turned, and at the bottom of one of the racks, because it was very tall, I looked and I saw Cassandra Cain. And so I grabbed her. And then I looked at the other side and I saw Spoiler. And those are both 20. And so because of that, I decided not to get Speed Racer. So some other time, but I'm very, very happy to have Stephanie Brown Spoiler and Cassandra Cain Batgirl now. And yeah, the other thing is just that there were three actors from Aliens, and Tom got to get something signed by them, and then also had a picture with three of them. And then we went to an Aliens panel, which was pretty cool. So overall, I thought a pretty fun day. That's basically, I guess, my update. I think teaching is going for the most part okay. There are some challenges, and I had a big kind of frustrating 48 hours, which my good friend Harry always hears about some of these things. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, here I am. I'm just trying to fly under the radar. And now there's like drama already. And I was very apologetic to the principal and saying like, I'm so sorry, I feel like I brought this, but he was very adamant that it was not me and that I should have been supported better. So frustrations, but for right now, I'm not the cause of the drama, even though it does seem like the drama had followed me. But it's just a whole story that I could tell you, and I think we just don't have time for it because Carol and Coca's truth is that my intros are way too long. And even if I said no, she would probably just plow on ahead. So I will plow on ahead. I'm going to do three Cassandra Cain backroll issues that constitute a full arc. And I will say that I was wrong. Last episode, I said, I feel like I have not done a Cassandra Cain Batgirl or a year's worth of Cassandra Cain Batgirls. And as I was trying to figure out what I was doing for this one, I went to 55 and I'm like, no, I think I did this, and kept going. I'm much better off than I thought I was. So actually 60, 61, 62, much better than the 55. So I think I just forgot, and I think a lot of that stuff, because there was a Tim Drake and Cassandra Cain crossover, was just happening in those trades that I got for war games and war crimes and all of that stuff. So I think it all, and we're coming, I think, to the near end of Cassandra Cain. I will say, I guess, to preface what I'm about to do, that I think it feels so long that I've done Cassandra that I feel almost out of practice in how to read these. And so I will say that I come down rather hard on this particular arc, but feel free to be like, no, you're wrong about this. But, this was a good arc. Because I do have some opinions that I just feel like, what is this what I was reading? Oh, so anyways, this is Batgirl number 60, The Hood Part 1, Deep Digs. Writer Anderson Gabrick, penciler Ale Garza, inker Jesse Delperdang, and colorist Wildstorm. March 2005 is the cover date. The publisher's synopsis is Batgirl is beginning to settle in Bloodhaven and is receiving combat training from Onyx, hashtag yes queen. She makes some important first steps, including acquiring an underworld snitch named Marquis and unless it's Marquis, but we'll go with Marquis, and a headquarters courtesy of Batman and Alfred. She also discovers that something big is going down. The Penguin has a delivery coming. However, she doesn't know that the Brotherhood of Evil are in town. So yeah, I think my favorite thing about this, and here is the cover with Penguin in the background and Batgirl in the foreground with lots of bats surrounding her. My favorite part is this beginning with Onyx and having that training situation, and the fact that Cass knows maybe she needs to train with someone who has a different fighting style, as well as, I guess, maybe be more adept at urban warfare. And Onyx may have that down, and Onyx also knows the lay of the land a bit more. So I feel like this is great. I think that this is something that Cass would, in fact, do as well. I was surprised, and this seems to be something that obviously we are encountering in current times in 2024. Cass taking off her mask. I feel like this is atypical of this version of Cassandra. Um, and what is said is very by Onyx, I think, is very wise, but I feel like we knew that. And it's almost as if the writer didn't know that, but the writer has to remind themselves and remind us as well. But Onyx says, Onyx is my name. That is who I am. I never got a chance to be anybody else, too stupid and too arrogant in my youth to cover my face and protect my name, my life. But you, baby girl, you got a face under that mask, a name behind that symbol, and if you're smart, you'll get a life too. And if you recall, this is something that was really big for Barbara as well, that she wanted Cassandra to have two sides of this life. Yes, you are Batgirl, but who are you also as Cassandra Cain? And it's interesting that Onyx is there to remind her of that. Or I'm trying to think who wrote that particular issue with Barbara. Anyways, I guess it would have been a different. It would not have been Gabriel, but it's just interesting that we needed a reminding of that. And it always just feels weird to have her remove her mask in any story now. I just feel like that's a consistent thing, is that Cassandra Cain does not remove her mask. Moving on. I will say that Cass seems pretty verbose and well spoken in this arc. She occasionally struggles with some words. One of them was coincidence, and one of them was snitch. But I feel like it's not enough from the writer to make it consistent. And I think it's interesting to go back to the beginning of her and see what that is to where it is now. And even in 2024, I think maybe she's not, like, her dialogue needs to change a bit. Depending on how old she is, but it takes a little while, for people to be able to speak in this way. And just because you struggle on one word doesn't really point to the fact that you are still learning how to speak eloquently and fluently as well. Her new digs are interesting. Um, just scrolling past some of these, at first it looks like she's just in some sort of I don't know, derelict building, but then she's able to meet up with Alfred, and well, this building does look derelict, but I guess for good reason. And we get to see all of the new paraphernalia that she gets. And I mean, of course, should we be surprised at all, since this is someone that is near and dear to Batman and a part of his crusade? Looks like she's got lots of vehicles. I don't know if I've ever seen Cassandra Cain ride a vehicle necessarily, with the exception of Bumbo in Batgirls. But that would be interesting to see her on a bike. And yeah, I mean, good on ya. And then, oh, that's her. I saw that floating head and I thought, oh, wow, is that Barbara? And I think just the final, I honestly don't have too much to say about this whole arc. So sorry, it's going to go pretty quickly. But just the fact that we are dropping the Brotherhood of Evil right at the end, and they will continue. And I will say that I think some things get lost in the sauce in this particular arc, and I think it starts maybe right here. I thought it was mainly Penguin, and yes, it works with the Penguin storyline, but I would have wanted the Penguin to kind of be the main person or bad guy that we're seeing and not add more to it. So we will move on to 61. The Hood Part 2, Into the Light. Writer Anderson Gabrick, penciler Ale Garza, inkers Jack Purcell and Jesse Delberding, and colorist Wildstorm. April 2005 is the cover date. Publisher synopsis. When Batgirl goes to the local cafe for some tea, she discovers that McSweeney Realty, who have sold many local properties, are trying to pressure the owner, Brenda Miller, into selling as well. Of more immediate importance, though, is the arms shipment that the Penguin is apparently receiving. Batgirl discovers that someone has been posing as a customs officer and encounters this person, Gemini, aboard the dead officer's houseboat. She soon finds herself up against Gemini, Mala, and the Brain, odds which are too high for her, and she is left for dead, soon seeing an apparition of her late friend Stephanie, aka Spoiler. Funny little anecdote: as I was making the cover for this podcast, the cover image, I should say, this was blocked by Google and I had to show the censored image. So I guess Google deemed this too violent. But there you go, rapid fire. So we see what happens in real life when someone cannot read, I guess, period. Just having trouble ordering and then giving a large amount of money, which she gives $50 for the coffee and says, keep the change, basically, which is great when you have funds that are backed by a millionaire or a billionaire, but not when you are might be down on your luck and not sure which bill to use. But I do appreciate this particular scene, and we'll see it again. And you kind of wonder about the people both in line as well as the people behind the register when this sort of thing happens, and how, I don't know, empathetic, well, probably like compassionate rather, and helpful people are behind, because I'm sure that the people ordering are filled with shame and are embarrassed. And I just wonder how often, because whatever her name is, Brenda, is pretty quick on the uptake. It takes two times and she clues in as to what's happening. But I just wondered, is this typical or atypical? And I feel like people don't have a good read on other people, especially behind the register, which I try not to speak bad because they are going through a lot. But I think you do consistently want to keep it moving, right? And so you're not going to be necessarily getting a good read on people. For and I might be shortchanging them, because I'm thinking, when I was working at Michael's, you get a pretty good immediate read on is if someone's upset or not, and then whether how you're going to talk to them. But maybe it's a bit more difficult if this sort of thing is happening. Because Cass is pretty swift. I not swift. She's pretty, wow, what's the S word? Not suave either. She's pretty good about hiding this sort of thing. But yes. So anyway, sorry. I just enjoyed this particular scene. I don't know when or where or why. When will we see that she is working on her literacy skills? Maybe Brenda will help her. But I mean, there's another scene, so we can talk about that later. Another thing that I didn't agree with Cassandra, so she took off her mask. She's talking really well and only stumbling over one or two words. The other thing is that she understood kind of the implications of what Brenda is saying in regards to commenting on Alfred's appearance, because Brenda makes it seem like that was, of course, Brenda's perception that Alfred is like a sugar daddy and there's this huge age gap and everything. And Cass is saying, like, it's not what you think. And I thought, does she have that amount of like social awareness that she knows what Brenda is implying? And she even says, um, I just wanted you to know that I am not a WH, and it stops. So it's like yet another word. So if she's about to say whore, like another word that would Cass know that word? Would she know the implication? Um, I don't think that she would. Like she wasn't really, which it wasn't an interest in hers, and I think that's fine, but she wasn't really being educated in social um issues or how to relate socially to other people, or like if this sort of thing happens, this is how somebody might perceive it. Like that was not really on her radar, so I felt like this was odd as well. I didn't know anything about Gemini, so that was interesting doing just a little bit of research there. I found out apparently that she becomes an ally of Nightwing and the Birds of Prey. Don't know when that happens, but now I know I'll at least be looking out for her. And then, now we have this brawl between Cass and the Brotherhood of Evil. And I remember way back when Batman forbid Cassandra from having any sort of tussles with metahumans. He's very upset. Remember that? And I'm like, look at this now. She's going up against a group that the Justice League struggled against. So she fares pretty well compared to how maybe an average person would, given that they cause superheroes some struggles. But again, the focus is on them. And while the fight is great, I'm still like, I thought this story was about the penguin. What's going on? So yeah, we end just with this scene. I do try to figure out, I guess she just gets slammed into the boat deck so hard that she passes out, and then this fire rages out of control, and somehow the explosion throws her from the boat instead of killing her, and then she's down here and we see this apparition. And it's also interesting symbolically. Well, I can talk about it the next one, but the state of her mask in this one I think is very interesting, and then we'll see where we are there. So that is 61, or was, I should say. And then now we just have the final 62. The Hood Part 3, Dead Weight. Writer Anderson Gabrick, penciler Ale Garza, inker Jesse Delperdane, colors Jason Wright. May 2005 is the cover date. Batgirl's drowning, but is saved by the spirited spoiler, who encourages her to fight for her life and also helps her remember some things from her past. Later, Batgirl begins a tentative friendship with Brenda Miller and also tips the police off about the Penguin's arms deal with the Brotherhood of Evil. Unfortunately, someone yeah, okay, tips the police off. I was looking at that phraseology there. Unfortunately, someone in the police department tips the Penguin off, who escapes, but Batgirl is able to defeat the Brotherhood. Okay, so yes, here we go. Oh, Beyond the Realms of Death, pretty disturbing imagery here. Almost looks, I mean, it's green water. It looks like either a sewer or the Lazarus pit. So the state of her mask, I feel like this is symbolic. So here we have it's pretty shattered, and then later on the mask will basically be completely off somehow. And I felt like this is good going back to Onyx's discussion with her, just in the fact that this is Cassandra stripped down. This is Cassandra, and not Batgirl Cassandra. And having that emotion, I guess, to talk to using spoiler rather than spoiler or the apparition of spoiler, talk to Batgirl and then you can't really see what exactly is going on. I will say that, um, first of all, if you have this comic or if you're watching this video, you should see just how David Kane is holding this baby. He's literally holding a bundled baby in his fist. He's just like grabbed it as if it were I don't know, one of those big coolers that those buff guys carry around so they drink a gallon of water a day. It's kind of nuts. I also said, what a suggestive embrace. So, if you're keeping track and wanting to see what sort of evidence you can provide in regards to Cassandra and Spoiler having a romantic relationship, there you go. What the artist decided to do here is rather suggestive. Yes, you should look this issue up, I think. So I like spirit guides like this, especially if it's someone who's close, someone maybe who had departed. It's also a classical idea of having ghosts and things visit and going to the underworld, world, being a big thing for a couple epics. So I like this sort of thing. But it feels like this was more a recap of her life. And as someone who does not like anime recap episodes, because I feel like it was a waste of time. Why are you wasting a crucial 22-minute episode on this? Yeah, I feel like what we could have done something better than just going through as if Cassandra needs a reminding about the stuff that she has gone through, the trauma that she has gone through. Maybe we could have had her consider certain actions that she had. Like, oh my gosh, what if she sees her, bad interaction with, I'm not blaming her bad interaction with Barbara Gordon, and then, oh, how can I repair this sort of thing? And yeah, grow from them. And I think it was also a missed opportunity to have a longer and more personal discussion just between the two of them. So, what spoiler meant to Cassandra and vice versa. So I don't know. It was just a recap of her life. And I thought, well, what is Cass learning from this? There was definitely a brief consideration of nature versus nurture in this particular recap, which I thought was something that Cass would think about as these images were happening. And maybe thematically, she had never thought about that before, but given some evidence, she would have been like, oh, yeah, that is certainly something that uh, might be true. Like this person went through this and I went through this, but this person didn't have what I had and I did. So this is how we may have turned out. Um, okay. So there's Barbara. Oh, Barbara. And this is pretty disturbing just to see Steph's ghoulish face at the very end, but she does wave and, do what you do best, what you taught me to do, fight. And then she gets out of there. So here it is, this scene. I like that she caught on very quickly. I do wonder what is going to happen between the two of these. It is not lost on me the fact that Brenda looks, well, suspiciously similar to Barbara. So it would be really interesting if Brenda decided to help Cass with her reading. And she didn't take Barbara up on it. So that would be both interesting and sad. Even though this story predates Batgirl Burnside, it has the same small town feel where Cass is getting to know her neighborhood and, maybe Batgirl will be the town hero. She's at one point she walked around the city and she's getting to know this coffee shop, making friends. So I feel like there are positives here and I like that. At the end, we've got this homeless person. Um, who has been kind of stalking her. But I thought, who is this man, this child? I don't know, who is sitting there. And then Cass feels like she has the freedom to give him a kiss on his head. And then he wakes up and he's still like watching out for her. I don't even know. Oh, good, she's home. Not really sure what's happening here. I will say that Donovan, I had told him like, boy, if you were on here, I think you'd have some comments. And he reached out to sort of the preeminent I would say, Cass Cain person on Twitter. And so I know now that this is a person and he will return, but it doesn't go too much further. And then I guess I won't spoil who it is. I guess I'll just wait to find out who he is when that happens. But it's just like I thought maybe it was Tim Drake in disguise because why else would Cass actually um, give him a head kiss like this? Well, as I said, oh, and I should say that, I mean, the proof in what I said about how dangerous the Brotherhood is the fact that she's researching them. And here we have the whole Justice League. So while it's interesting and fun to have her pit up against the Brotherhood, I feel like maybe it's unrealistic, even if it is Cassandra Cain. So, yes, it's been a while since I've read a Cass issue. I told you, or at least it feels that way. And so I feel a bit rusty in reading her and analyzing her, but I feel like there was a lot of potential here and it just fell flat. There's just too much going on. And really, any one thing, reconciling with Spoiler's death or really processing it, getting to know Bloodhaven, the Penguins thing, any of those could have been a whole story. And I just think also there are a lot of issues with Cass's character and how she's represented here and how she's being written. But, besides her illiteracy, I think that that was written well and realistically. So I don't think well of these particular issues. I think I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. What should I say? 6 out of 10. Oh, sugar daddies. How about that? In honor of Alfred. Alfred, by the way, apparently he's dead. Someone told me this. That's how far out of current DC Comics I am, and that I didn't even know that Alfred was deceased. Okay. Well, I will say there's not really any listener feedback. There was something on YouTube, which was just from Harry, and he said, "quote unquote," good friend Harry. Explicit reason, how scandalous. Yeah, well, explicit obviously can be used in a couple ways. I feel like I've used explicit so many times in my grad school career because it's all about direct and explicit instruction. And just to be very clear, and everything's put forth. But yes, obviously it means swearing. And good friend, yeah. But he does not call me his good friend when I record with him. So there's no quid pro quo there. Okay, well, I'm going to take a break. And when I come back, I will cover actually a modern quickie, very quick. And that is from Batman 152, a backup that I accidentally discovered had Birds of Prey, and then do a full review of Birds of Prey, no, Volume 5, number 13. But first, it is Zaius's Radio Hour featuring Great Expectations from The Outsiders musical. See you soon.